Everywhere you look, there's another security framework: ISO, NIST 800-53, CIS, SOC 2. So which one should actually drive your program? And how does NIST CSF 2.0 tie them all together into a practical, risk-based strategy? That's what we'll unpack in this module. Does your environment feel like this? ISO here, PCI there, GDPR somewhere else, all demanding proof at once? That's compliance fog. NIST CSF 2.0 is designed to cut through that and unify your security story into one coherent program. Many organizations begin with ad hoc cybersecurity, tools bought after incidents, controls scattered across teams, and almost no measurement. It's reactive and hard to justify to leadership or auditors. NIST CSF 2.0 helps you move from that chaos to a defensible, repeatable strategy. Outcomes become structured. You can show consistency across business units, generate audit-ready evidence, and, just as important, use a shared language to explain cyber risk and investment decisions. Think of NIST CSF 2.0 as a Rosetta Stone for security and compliance. It doesn't replace ISO 27001, NIST 800-53, CIS Controls, SOC 2, or HIPAA. Instead, it defines the outcomes you want, what good security looks like. Those other frameworks then provide the specific controls and evidence for how you achieve those outcomes. By mapping everything back to the CSF, you can map once, comply many, and avoid duplicating effort across standards. Earlier versions, like CSF 1.1, were written with critical infrastructure in mind: utilities, transportation, large industrial operators. CSF 2.0 keeps that focus, but opens the doors to everyone: small nonprofits, SaaS startups, hospitals, and global enterprises. The perspective shifts as well. Instead of just protect the plant or protect the data center, CSF 2.0 is about managing cybersecurity as enterprise risk, tied to business goals, governance, and decision-making across the entire organization. In CSF 2.0, govern is the missing piece that ties everything together. Think of it as the operating system for your cybersecurity program. It defines who is accountable, how decisions are made, what risk appetite looks like, and how priorities are set. Identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover are still critical, but govern decides where you invest, what good enough means, and how you report to leadership. Without strong governance, even great technical controls remain ad hoc and fragile. CSF 2.0 also assumes your real perimeter is no longer your data center. It's your ecosystem of vendors, partners, cloud platforms, and SaaS providers. The govern function pulls all of that under one risk umbrella. Supply chain risk management is where this becomes concrete. Contracts, due diligence, SLAs, right to audit clauses, security requirements, and exit plans. You're not securing their infrastructure. You're securing the relationship and its impact on your mission. Now let's look at how the CSF is structured. Picture it as a funnel. At the top, a function expresses a big strategic goal, like protecting the environment. Each function breaks down into categories that group related activities, such as identity management. Those categories decompose into subcategories, which describe concrete outcomes like verifying identities and tying them to credentials. When you implement controls, you're really implementing these subcategory outcomes while still staying aligned with the higher level business strategy. You can also view the CSF functions as a continuous risk lifecycle. Govern sets strategy, makes policy, and decides risk appetite. Identify builds context, what you have, what's critical, and where the risks are. Protect applies safeguards around those priorities. Detect watches for anything that slips through or changes. Respond contains and manages active incidents. Recover restores services and captures lessons learned. Mature programs loop through this cycle constantly, not just after a breach. Implementation tiers answer a key question: how rigorous is your risk management in practice? At Tier 1, activity is mostly ad hoc and reactive. Tier 2 is risk-informed. People are aware of risks, but execution is inconsistent. Tier 3 is repeatable. Policies and processes are defined and usually followed. Tier 4 is adaptive. The organization continually learns, measures, and improves. When you assign a tier, you're rating the maturity of your processes, not just checking whether controls exist. Profiles turn the framework into a concrete action plan. Your current profile shows how well each function is really implemented today. Your target profile expresses where you need to be, based on risk, regulation, and business priorities. The distance between those two views is your gap. Each gap becomes a project, with an owner, timeline, and cost. If you can't fund everything, you close the highest risk gaps first and revisit the profile regularly. CSF 2.0 really shines as a shared language across the enterprise. Board and senior leadership focus on direction and risk, so they mostly talk in terms of functions. Are we identifying, protecting, and detecting effectively overall? Risk and compliance teams translate that into categories they can test, measure, and audit. Technical teams go one level deeper, implementing and evidencing specific subcategories. Everyone is aligned to the same framework, just at different zoom levels. From a program perspective, NIST CSF 2.0 gives you 3 big wins. First, you map once to the CSF, then reuse that work to satisfy multiple regulators and frameworks. Second, you prioritize real business risk instead of chasing buzzword tools. Third, you gain a flexible backbone that can adapt as technology and threats evolve. In this course, you'll move through 4 stages. First, you'll build a foundational understanding of CSF 2.0. Then you'll dive into each function and its outcomes. Next, you'll create practical profiles for your own environment. Finally, you'll turn those insights into concrete implementation plans. To close this module, think about your own environment. Are you drowning in overlapping frameworks or mostly ad hoc with gaps everywhere? Jot down where you sit today, because that starting point will shape how you apply CSF 2.0 in the rest of this course.